Welcome back. Till now, what we have discussed is the black body radiation and different laws proposed by different physicists to explain the nature of the spectrum. And we have finally seen that the law proposed by Max Planck could explain the spectrum completely at ranges for all the ranges of wavelength. So this is the spectrum what we have seen based on the experimental results, and the different laws what we have discussed are Stefan Boltzmann law, Wien's law, and Lipton's law. And finally, we have seen these laws fails to explain the spectrum at some points, but this Planck's law, which is based on quantum mechanics assumptions, and could explain the spectrum completely. So today we'll see the derivation of Planck's law. So today's lecture includes Planck's law, the derivation for Planck's law, and again we'll see how we can get the Wien's law from Planck's law and Religion's law from Planck's law. Coming to Planck's law, what we have seen, just as a recap, I am showing you the things. So this is the black body radiation law, which could explain the spectrum completely, and this law gives us the quantitative idea about the radiation density which is emitted by the black body surface, and that is how the quantity changes with frequency and wavelength. So this law gives us the quantitative picture for the intensity of radiation emitted per unit surface area into a fixed direction by a black body. This radiation law, which is expressed in terms of wavelength and frequency for a fixed temperature. Now we'll see the derivation for this one. So basically what we are calculating? We are calculating the energy density, average energy density. Generally when someone speaks about density, what comes to our mind is per unit volume. Okay? And average, if we will take an example of a mall, we can take, there some racks will be there, and in different rack, different items are there. Suppose there are 4 racks, and in each rack some items are there, and the items are having different prices. Okay, so somebody asks you the average price of the items placed at that rack. So what you have to do? You have to first see what are the items placed at different racks. Then you have to add their amount. Then the total, if like in one thing there are 4 noodles, each are having price like 40 rupees per pack. Then if you are having 4, then you have to multiply with number of items, 4 into 40. Similarly, some other items are there like some biscuits. So that is 10 rupees per packet, it seems. Then there are 10 packets. Then you have to multiply with that. Then you have to add up the total amount. Then divide by the number of items. The similar principle, like we have to calculate the energy, average energy density. So we have to first consider those things. And the assumptions, as we have discussed in the previous class, there are 2 assumptions. What the Planck's considered, oscillators are having energy which are integral multiple of a fixed amount of energy. There are discrete in value. Okay, so this what we have discussed in the previous class, and we have also discussed that when it is making a transition from one level to other, it either emits or absorbs energy in terms of integral multiple of h nu. Okay, So now to calculate that average energy of the oscillator. So first we have to find out the total energy divided by the total number of oscillators. Okay. So if n is the total number of oscillators with energy E, then the average energy is given as the total energy divided by, this is the symbol for average energy, and E is the total energy. This we can calculate by multiplying the number of oscillators having the same amount of energy, then adding them up. So that is the total energy divided by total number of oscillators. Okay. So here let there are n number of energy levels. Okay. So and like I told you, there are number of cells in the rack. Here there are n number of energy levels, and each level is filled with some n suffix n number. En represents the energy of the nth level, and Nn represents the number of oscillators in nth level. Okay. So what is the energy? Like if the second level is having energy E2 and N2 is the number of oscillators present at that energy level, then one oscillator is having energy E2. So the total energy will be E2 into N2. Similarly, whatever that, this is a summation which is giving you. So this En is the energy of the oscillators in nth level. Nn is the number of oscillators present in the nth energy level. So we have to multiply with the number of the oscillators with energy of each oscillator to get the energy at that particular energy level. So En, Nn will give you the energy at nth energy level. So similarly, if there are n numbers, we have to take the summation to get the total energy, and as we are calculating the average, we should divide that by the total number of oscillators. And if Nn is the number of oscillators present in the nth level, we have to take the, like if N1 is in first level, N2 in the second level, N3 in the third level, then we have to add up them up to find out the total number of oscillators. So this lower one gives you the total number of oscillators. Numerator, what we are getting is the total amount of energy. So this is how we can find out the average energy. Then we can go for the density. Okay. So this is the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution. So where we can start from this statistics, we can get that the number of oscillators present in the nth energy level is equals to e to the power minus En by kT. En is the energy of the nth energy level, K is the Boltzmann constant, T is the absolute temperature. So using this in this equation, now if we substitute over here, I can write it as En e to the power minus En by kT. Here also in the denominator in place of N, we can put this value. Okay. So now after substituting, we will get this equation. Now comes the first assumption. There are two assumptions by Planck. The first assumption was the energies are discrete. The first one is h nu, second one is 2h nu, 3h nu, like that. So En can be written as nh nu, where n is an integer. So now substituting this value in this equation, we will get that E is equals to, I substituted in place of En, nh nu. Here also in place of En, I have substituted nh nu. So wherever En is there, there we substituted this one. Now we have to calculate this value. Okay, so now in this is a summation, so I can write from h nu e to the power minus h nu by kt to h nu, like this. If you go on, okay, for 0 it will be 0 because here it is 0, so it starts from 1, but the lower one it starts from e to the power minus 0 is 0, so 1 plus e to the power h nu by kt. So this just expanded the summation. From here you can see I can take h nu common and I can substitute a value like e to the power minus h nu by kt, that is common everywhere. So just to make the calculation simple, if you are looking to this, you may get afraid, what is this? So just to make it visualize, like if you see a small thing, you can think this is easy. But if I put such a big expression, then you can find that it is very hard. So for that only I just make a substitution alpha in place of e to the power minus h nu by kt. So by substituting this, I can write this as h nu alpha 2h nu alpha square, like that. Here in the denominator it is 1 plus alpha square. So these are the some mathematical series, like we see first one in the numerator is h nu alpha plus 2h nu alpha square. So here I have taken h nu alpha common. So inside the bracket what I will get 1 plus 2 alpha plus 3 alpha square, like that. And this series is equals to 1 minus alpha to the power minus 2. This you might have read in your mathematics, or if you want I can give you the expression, the derivation for this one as well. Okay, and the denominator, that is 1 plus alpha square plus alpha cube, like that. That again can be written as 1 minus alpha to the power minus 1. So now substituting these values in the expression, I can write here in place of this big one, I can write down this smaller value, and similarly in the denominator I can substitute 1 minus alpha to the power minus 1. Okay, so this is the average energy. Now it's looking good, right? Okay, so now coming to the value, so this is 1 minus alpha to the power minus 2, and in the denominator it is 1 minus alpha to the power minus 1. So if I bring this to the denominator, I can get it as this minus 2 will become plus 2, so it is 1 minus alpha. Now taking alpha common, it is alpha to the power minus 1, and now this alpha will get cancelled, so it is h nu by alpha to the power minus 1 minus 1. Okay, so now this alpha, what we have considered as alpha, e to the, now it's became it's looking quite good. No need to worry about such a big expression. So it came down to a good expression. Now we can put back our original value. We have considered alpha as e to the power minus h nu by kt. So in place of here I am substituting. So it is alpha to the power minus 1. So this to the power minus 1. So it will become e to the power h nu by kt. Okay. So the average energy what we are getting is h nu by e to the power h nu by kt minus 1. Okay. But what we are calculating, we are interested for the energy density. So this is the average energy that is for a single oscillator. But density means we have to first calculate that numbers in a particular range per unit volume. Then we have to multiply that number with this one. Okay. So this is the energy for a single oscillator. But we are interested for the average energy density, right? So Now we have to see what is the number of oscillators. Now we will consider a energy range between that some frequency range will take nu to nu plus d nu. So within that specific frequency range, what is the number of oscillators? And then as we are interested in density, we have to divide that by volume. And that expression is given as if dn is the number of oscillators present in between the frequency range nu and nu plus d nu, and v is the volume, that is given as dn by v, and this expression is using the density, we can get it as 8 pi nu square d nu by cq. Again, this derivation is not there in your syllabus, but if you want, I can give it as an extra material, those who are interested. Okay, so now we got the energy per oscillator and the number of oscillators per unit volume in between a frequency range nu and nu plus d nu. Now our next task is to calculate that average energy density. So how can we calculate that? Yes, we have to multiply the energy of a single oscillator with the number density. Okay, so the energy density of radiation is given as E nu d nu, that is that average energy, and this is the number density. So multiplying this, just I have inserted the value E average. The average value of a single oscillator is h nu by e to the power h nu by kt minus 1, and this is the number density. So now finally from this, just by doing the simplification, this nu can come over here, it will become nu cube. So just by simplifying, we can get this value E nu d nu. This is the energy density within an frequency interval nu to nu plus d nu. So this is that energy density. Okay. Now this is in terms of frequency, but sometimes we need to calculate the energy density in terms of wavelength. So how can we just convert this in terms of wavelength? All of you know that there is a relation between frequency and wavelength, that is V is equals to n lambda, okay, or nu lambda I can tell. So V is equals to nu lambda. Here in place of V I have taken c because this is velocity of light. So c is equals to nu lambda, or I can write nu is equals to c by lambda. Here you can see there is d nu. So if somebody will just put over here c by lambda q, the answer will not be correct, because we need to calculate this d nu as well. Okay. So from this, if you do the derivation, I can get d nu is equals to minus c by lambda square d lambda. Now I can substitute both the values, and I will consider only the magnitude for d nu. So substituting these values over here, nu q is cq by lambda q, and d nu is the c by lambda square into d lambda, and simplifying this, because this cq and cq will get cancelled, and we will get 8 by hc by this lambda q and lambda square will give you lambda to the power 5 d lambda by e to the power hc by lambda kt minus 1. So that this first one is in terms of frequency. If frequency range is given and you need to calculate the energy density for a given frequency range, we can use this formula. But if we are interested for the energy density in terms of wavelength, then we have to go for the second one. Okay. So what are the constants over here? Here again, this h is Planck's constant, 6.625 into 10 to the power minus 27 arc second, or maybe 10 to the power minus 34 joule second. Okay. So, and what else? Here it is, k is there. K K is your Boltzmann constant, that is 1.38 into 10 to the minus 16 hour per Kelvin. Okay, and C, all of you know, that is the velocity of light or speed of light, that is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Now we are done with the derivation of Planck's law. Okay, now we'll see how we can derive Wend's law and Rayleigh-Jeans law from this Planck's law. Okay, so Wend's law, this only the d lambda part I have removed from here. If you remember, Wend's law was given that lambda m t is equals to constant, that is the maximum value of wavelength or the value of wavelength for which you are getting the peak into the temperature, that will give you the constant value. So whenever we are calculating a maximum value, then that derivative with respect to that thing should be 0. So here this E, when we will take the derivative with respect to lambda, then it should give us 0. So this, taking the derivative of these things, will get, and finally taking this lambda t is equals to this value, and after substituting these values of h, k and c, finally one can obtain that lambda mt is equals to this value, and lambda m is nothing but the wavelength corresponding to peak of the spectrum. Okay, now coming to Rayleigh-Jeans law. Till now I have told you so many times, Rayleigh-Jeans law fails at lower value of wavelength. So we should get it while we are considering for larger wavelengths. So if we consider the Planck's law for larger wavelengths, that should come to Rayleigh-Jeans law. Lower wavelength, because Rayleigh-Jeans law could not explain the things at shorter wavelengths. So it no need to go for shorter wavelengths. We'll just see what is happening at the larger wavelengths. Okay. So from Planck's law, this is the expression what we have got. When wavelengths are large, then hc by lambda kt. If lambda is very large, then this value will be small. Okay. And we all know the expression of an exponential value e to the power x is given as 1 plus x square by 2 factorial plus x cube by 3 factorial. Like that it will continue. But if it is small, then like 0.1, if we take the higher orders or higher powers, 0.1 to the square will be 0.01, to the cube 0.001, it will become smaller and smaller. So as this is small, we can neglect these higher order terms, only considering the first two terms. I can write this equation as 1 plus x, and here what is the value of x? X is hc by lambda kt. So 1 plus hc by lambda kt minus 1, this plus 1 and minus 1 will get cancelled. So we will get E lambda, d lambda is equals to 8 pi hc by lambda 5, lambda kt by hc. This hc will get cancelled. Lambda and this lambda 5 for lambda will get cancelled. So finally we will get E lambda d lambda is equals to 8 pi kt by lambda 4th into d lambda. So this is nothing but the Rayleigh-Jeans law. You can go back and check it. So now we have derived this Wend's law as well as Rayleigh-Jeans law from Planck's law. Okay. So today we will stop here. Till now what you have seen, the beauty of the assumptions what is taken by Max Planck. So one more thing we will see, that is photoelectric effect, but not today. It will be discussed in the next class. Hope by that time you will go through all these slides, all these lectures till now, whatever I have uploaded. Enjoy your day. Thank you.